Okay, here we go.
And it took $50 million of its cash reserves in the second quarter and bought gold. And, you know, the gold promoters have made a big deal. Whoa, this is remarkable. A company putting gold reserve, some of its cash reserves into gold. And they did that, they said, because, you know, the risks of black swan events was such that they wanted to diversify their holdings away from just US dollars and other currencies into gold. Now, at $1,800 an ounce, $50 million is only 28,000 ounces. So it's less than a ton of gold. It's not the kind of thing that moves the gold market. And Planeteer is not the kind of company, that's like saying, you know, we always joke in central banks. Central bankers around the world watch what the US does, watch what the Chinese People's Bank of China does, you know, and they say, yeah, that looks smart. They don't necessarily look at Russia and say, hey, here's a pariah state that's corrupt and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What are they doing? Maybe we should emulate them. In the corporate world, I don't know anybody who would say, gee, Planeteer's doing that. That sounds like something I want to try. But it was interesting that they did it. It's not new. Corporations have been holding cash reserves in gold for centuries. Even recently, they've
By the way, just in case you're not impressed yet, the best is still on the way.
been doing that. And to compare the size, the French President Macron, another thing that's been in the news, had a proposal that the IMF should sell 100 million ounces of gold, $100 million worth of gold. It has about 90 million ounces of gold that it has. It sold some in 2009, 2010, I believe, to raise money because the Bush administration had refused to pay the US dues to the IMF for several years and was cash starving the IMF because Dick Cheney thought that the IMF should be closed down because it was a multilateral institution, and multilateral institutions blocked the US from doing things that it wanted to do unilaterally that the broader world said, no, let's not do that. So
Obviously.
he proposed that the IMF might sell $100 million worth of gold, which is about 56,000 ounces of their 90 million ounces. And frankly, I don't know that that will go forward. If it does go forward, it's probably going to take a decade or so to negotiate. The reality is that 56,000 ounces is not a lot. It's not going to have any noticeable impact on the market, and it probably will be restituted or sold to member governments, member central banks, rather than sold into the market, because that's what they do.
Just like on a little side note there, I mean, sounds not good to me.
For the most part in 2009, 2010, is they restituted some and then they sold. They offered it first to other central banks and that were members of the IMF, and central banks, I think, bought all, if not all, most of it there. And, you know, unfortunately, $100 million is not going to solve the massive indebtedness of African nations. But that's out there, it's there. I wanted to talk a little bit about the idea of holding company cash reserves in gold and silver.
What?
Like I said, it's nothing new. It's been done for centuries. It's been done in recent modern times. CPM Group